World number 1, 3 Grand Slam titles. Year-end champion for 2024. By every metric, Aryna Sabalenka should be at the peak of her powers. Instead, she's publicly admitting she's not hungry on court and all over the place mentally. Her recent French Open meltdown wasn't an isolated incident. It was the visible explosion of a champion experiencing a psychological downward spiral. Today, we examine what happens when sustained pressure at the top creates cracks that data can reveal, even when rankings hide the truth.
The numbers tell a story that contradicts her ranking. Sabalenka has a 40-7 match record in 2025, which looks dominant. But she's reached 7 finals and lost 4 of them, including both Grand Slam finals. That's not a technical issue, that's a pressure issue. When you can reach finals consistently but can't close them out, you're looking at psychological fragmentation under the highest stakes.
What concerns me most is the pattern of mental health admissions. She skipped press conferences in 2023 citing safety and mental health concerns. After personal relationship struggles in 2024, she admitted it damaged my mental health. Now in 2025, she's saying she's not hungry and her thoughts are scattered. That's a troubling trajectory for someone carrying the weight of being number 1.
Today, we're examining what the data reveals about champions under sustained pressure, how mental fragmentation manifests in performance patterns, and why Sabalenka's trajectory illustrates the hidden cost of maintaining elite status when the foundation is cracking beneath the surface. Let's start with the numbers that everyone sees versus the numbers that matter. Sabalenka's 2025 season looks impressive on paper: 40 wins, 7 losses, 85% win rate. She's won 3 titles and reached 7 finals, but dig deeper and you find the cracks.
The final statistics are devastating for someone at her level. She's lost 4 finals in 2025 versus 3 wins. That includes both Grand Slam finals, the Australian Open to Madison Keys and the French Open to Coco Gauff. For context, in 2024, she won 4 finals and lost 3. The ratio has flipped and not in her favor.
The Grand Slam final pattern is particularly concerning. She's reached 6 major finals in her career, winning 3. But those wins came in a cluster: 2023 Australian Open, 2024 Australian Open, and 2024 US Open. Since then, she's 0-2 in the biggest moments. That suggests something changed psychologically in how she handles peak pressure.
Then there's the Wimbledon problem, a glaring weakness that undermines her claim to being the world's best player. Despite saying her game is suited for grass courts, she has never won a grass title and has never even reached a Wimbledon final.
She reached Wimbledon semifinals in 2021 and 2023, then withdrew in 2024 due to injury. For someone with her power game and serve, grass should theoretically suit her style. The fact that she can't translate that into results suggests mental barriers rather than technical limitations. Grass requires confidence and commitment to aggressive play, exactly what suffers when you're mentally fragmented.
But the performance issues are symptoms of deeper problems. Sabalenka's public struggles with mental health and personal challenges paint a picture of someone carrying enormous weight while trying to maintain elite performance.
The timeline is revealing. In 2023, she skipped French Open press conferences, saying she didn't feel safe due to political pressure about the Ukraine war. That's unprecedented for a top player. Then in 2024, after personal relationship struggles, she admitted it damaged my mental health. She continued playing when she should have stepped back.
Looking back right now, I would say that a better decision would have been to step back, reset and recharge, and start everything over again. But I did what I did. At the end, I paid for my decision.
That admission is crucial. She recognized she was making poor decisions for her mental health but felt compelled to keep playing. That's the trap of being number 1, the pressure to maintain appearances even when you're struggling internally. The cost of that decision is becoming clear in 2025.
Fast forward to February 2025, and Sabalenka is making concerning admissions about her current mental state after a disappointing loss in Dubai.
I believe that I'm not that hungry on court. I'm kind of like all over the place in my thoughts and not consistent. The decisions I'm making on the court are a bit wrong, and emotionally, I'm not on my best.
That's a devastating self-assessment from a world number 1. Not hungry means she's lost the drive that got her to the top. All over the place in thoughts indicates scattered focus. Emotionally not at my best suggests ongoing psychological struggles. These aren't temporary slumps, these are foundational issues.
Which brings us to the French Open meltdown in June 2025, not an isolated incident, but the inevitable explosion of mounting pressure and declining mental state.
When you understand the timeline, the political pressure, personal struggles, mental health admissions, and her own recognition that she's all over the place, the French Open comments make sense. They weren't just poor sportsmanship. They were the visible breakdown of someone who's been struggling internally for years.
She was hitting the ball from the frame. Somehow magically, the ball lands in the court. It felt like a joke, honestly. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes.
That response shows someone who can't process being outplayed. Instead of acknowledging Gauff's quality, she attributed it to magic and external factors. That's not competitive analysis, that's psychological protection. She can't face the reality that she was legitimately beaten.
Even more concerning was her casual dismissal afterward. When asked about immediate plans, she mentioned going to Mykonos for tequila, gummy bears, and swimming. That's not how champions respond to significant defeats.
That response suggests she's not treating losses as learning opportunities anymore. Champions typically analyze defeats intensely and use them as motivation. The casual dismissal indicates either emotional numbing or a defense mechanism against processing painful realities about her declining ability to handle pressure.
What makes this trajectory particularly concerning is that it's happening while she maintains her #1 ranking. The external success is masking internal breakdown.
That's the most dangerous aspect. She can still win matches against most players, her 40-7 record proves that, but in the highest pressure moments, the mental fragmentation shows. She reaches finals but can't close them. She has the talent but not the psychological stability to execute when it matters most.
This creates a vicious cycle. Each final loss reinforces doubts about her ability to handle pressure. The mental fragmentation she admits to becomes self-fulfilling. Meanwhile, the external expectation to maintain her ranking adds additional pressure that she's already struggling to handle.
The political isolation adds another layer of psychological pressure that's unique to her situation as a Belarusian player during the Ukraine conflict.
She's described facing hate in locker rooms for no reason and feeling unsafe in press conferences due to political questions. That's additional mental load that other top players don't carry. When you're already struggling with personal issues and pressure, that isolation becomes overwhelming.
Physical health issues compound the mental struggles. She's dealt with shoulder injuries that forced her to withdraw from Wimbledon 2024, and she mentioned battling illness during recent tournaments.
Physical and mental health are interconnected at elite levels. When you're psychologically stressed, your body becomes more susceptible to injury and illness. When you're physically compromised, it affects mental resilience. She's caught in a cycle where each problem amplifies the others.
The contrast with other champions is stark. When players like Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic lost to younger players, they typically praised their opponents and used defeats as motivation. Sabalenka's responses suggest someone who can't process being challenged.
True champions grow stronger from defeats. They analyze what went wrong and adapt their games. Sabalenka's recent responses attributing losses to external factors, making casual dismissals, admitting to scattered focus, suggests someone whose competitive drive is fragmenting under sustained pressure.
What's particularly troubling is her own recognition of the problem without apparent solutions. She knows she's not hungry and all over the place, but those admissions suggest the decline is continuing.
Self-awareness is the first step toward recovery, but it's not sufficient by itself. She needs structured intervention, mental health support, strategic breaks, possibly coaching changes. The danger is that she continues trying to push through problems that require stepping back to address properly.
The upcoming grass season presents another challenge. With 0 career grass titles and her admitted struggles on the surface, Wimbledon could expose her vulnerabilities further if she's not mentally prepared.
Grass requires confidence and commitment to aggressive play, exactly what suffers when you're mentally fragmented. If she goes into Wimbledon with the same scattered mindset she described in February, it could be a devastating result that accelerates the downward spiral.
This case study reveals how sustained pressure at elite levels can create psychological downward spirals that rankings and win-loss records don't capture. Sabalenka's trajectory serves as a warning about the hidden costs of maintaining top status when the foundation is cracking.
The data tells a clear story. Increasing final losses, mental health admissions, professional conduct breakdowns, and her own recognition of scattered focus. These aren't temporary slumps, they're indicators of systematic psychological pressure that's overwhelming her ability to perform at peak moments.
What makes this particularly concerning is that she's still winning enough matches to maintain her ranking, which masks the severity of the psychological issues. The external success prevents recognition of internal breakdown until it explodes publicly, like at the French Open.
Dr. Chen, Maria, thank you for this analysis of a champion under unprecedented pressure. You've shown us how psychological downward spirals can develop, even when external metrics suggest success. Sabalenka's trajectory illustrates the hidden costs of elite performance when mental health foundations are compromised. This episode was brought to you by Unstruct AI, where we examine the human cost of pressure at elite levels. Today, we've seen how a world number one can be simultaneously successful and struggling. Sabalenka's 40-7 record looks dominant, but her 4 final losses reveal someone who can't execute under peak pressure. Her own admissions of being not hungry and all over the place mentally show psychological fragmentation that rankings can't capture. When she attributed Gauff's French Open victory to magic rather than skill, it wasn't just poor sportsmanship. It was the visible explosion of someone whose mental foundation has been cracking for years. This matters because elite performance requires both physical ability and psychological resilience. When sustained pressure overwhelms mental health, even the most talented athletes can experience downward spirals that external success masks until they explode publicly. Sometimes the greatest threat to champions doesn't come from opponents. It comes from the weight of maintaining elite status when the internal foundation can no longer support the external expectations.